Hi guys, I am your first presenter of the day and I'm gonna discuss the introduction. Let's tackle about Sigmund Freud and his case study. First, who is Sigmund Freud? Sigmund Freud is an Austrian neurologist, physiologist, psychologist, the founder of psychoanalysis and psychodynamic approach to psychology. He is also the person who studied the case of Ernst Lanzer. Freud believes that the events in our childhood have a great influence on our adult lives, shaping our personalities.
Sigmund Freud case studies are Dora, Little Hans, Anna O, Irma's Injection, Daniel Paulskewer, and Wolfman.
Psychoanalytic theory. Psychoanalysis is defined as a set of psychological theories and therapeutic techniques that have their origin in Sigmund Freud's work and theory. It involves terms and ideas related to mind, personality, and treatment. Psychoanalytic core is the belief that all people possess unconscious thoughts, feelings, desires, and memories. It is also a therapy. Therapy typically involves a client and therapist tackling issues. Sigmund Freud developed the psychoanalytic theory of personality development, which argued the personality is formed through conflict among three fundamental structures of human mind: the id, ego, and superego. The third and the last one that I would tackle is the meaning of phobia. What is phobia? Phobia is an overwhelming and unreasonable fear of an object or situations. Not all phobias need treatment, but if a phobia affects your daily life, several therapies are available that can help you overcome your fears, often permanent. A phobia is a type of anxiety disorder defined by a persistent and excessive fear of an object or situation. Phobias typically result in a rapid onset of fear. That's all for the introduction. Thank you. The background of the study. Ernst Lanzer, also known as Ratman, was identified as a man named Paul Lawrence, who was born in Vienna in 1878. He attended university and trained as a lawyer. He suffered many years with his condition before seeking professional help. He had obsessive thoughts that led him to irrationality to the point of thinking of cutting his throat with a razor blade. At that time, Freud Sigmund was becoming well known as an expert, so Ernst Lanzer think highly of Freud's work and cases, so he sought him out. Ernst Lanzer had a obsessive thought that led to his irrational thinking. At that time, when he sought professional help, Sigmund Freud was becoming popular on his own field. So, Ernst Lanzer think that Freud can help him to his case. Lanzer was diagnosed by Freud a case of obsessive-compulsive disorder, or popularly known as obsessive neurosis at that time. He looked into Lanzer's history and events that happened during his childhood that may have been the roots of his obsessive thought. So, as Freud himself believes that the event happens in our childhood has a major influence on our adult lives, so he looked into Lanzer's history when he was young and found out that he experiences things at that time that affect to his present state.
My sexual life began very early. I remember a scene that took place when I was 3 or 4 years old, which came into my mind quite clearly years later. According to Lancer, his strange desire to see naked women began when he was 3 to 5 years old and had his erections at the age of 6. But because of his guilt, he tried to repress this desire. His sexual awareness started at a young age of 3 to 5 years old and got his first erection at the age of 6, which he complained to his mother as he doesn't know why it's happening. The scene he was talking about is when a governess came to their house and stayed there for a short period of time. The said governess allowed Lancer to do the unusual action such as touching her body parts. As he grew older, he tried to repress this desire, which is to see naked women because of his guilt. But there are times he thought that if he wanted to do his desires, his father needs to die first. During Lancer's military service, he got acquainted with a lieutenant who was known to have sadistic streak. He relayed to him a particularly cruel form of punishment, which involved placing a container full of rats on a person who laid down. It was August 11 to September in 1907 when he went to military that the first time he suffered from his obsession with rats. He met this lieutenant who's known as a cruel punisher. He told Lancer this torture or punishment where a container full of rats will be put into a person who was laid down. The main object of Lancer's obsessive thought was the irrational fear of death of his father and his beloved woman, Gisela Adler, and it worsened because of said cruel punishment. This punishment caused Lancer's obsession to escalate. His fear that his father and his beloved woman might die because of this punishment, which is the main object of his obsession. After 6 months of sessions of psychoanalysis with Freud claimed he had resolved Lancer's obsession and was able to end the treatment. Lancer entered into an analysis with Freud on October 1 in 1907, which is after his service in military. Freud claimed that Lancer's obsession was cured. Lancer found a job the next year but changed it 4 times before officially becoming an attorney and finding a secure job in 1913. But on August 1914, he went in military service again and was taken by Russians as a prisoner on November 21, 1914 and died 4 days later.
So for now, we will discuss the methodology use of Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud used qualitative research method on the case of Ernst Lancer the Ratman. Freud studied his patients who had various behavioral abnormalities. He also attempted to find the root cause of their behavioral abnormalities are unconscious and usually linked to repressed impulses, traumatic experiences, and etc. It is usually related to early childhood experiences. Freud relies on observing the case of Ernst Lancer. So, yung sa ginawa ni Freud sa di-discuss about dun sa case ni Ernst Lancer, the Ratman, ginawa niya, inobserbahan niya yung behavioral, kung ano ba yung behavioral na pinapakita ni Ernst Lancer. Kasi kadalasan yung mga case is nade-develop during adolescence and Minsan,
I give
kadalasan,
a simpler
during childhood,
explanation in proposing that the
experiences din siya
patient's
nade-develop.
father engaged in anal sexual abuse with his children and
Kaya,
survive evidence for this hypothesis from the
inalam niya
process
muna
notes.
kung paano
I evaluate
at kung
both
saan ba
Freud's
ito
and the
nakuha ni
present
Ernst Lancer.
interpretation with respect to Freud's
Inobserbahan niya
changing
ang
view
pagkatao
of
ni
the
Ernst
basis of
Lancer at
neurosis.
doon niya nalaman yung
From the sexual seduction theory
kung
to
saan
the
niya
fantasy
nakuha o saan
theory
ba nagsimula
and to
yung
more recent work on
pagkakaroon
child
ni Ernst
sexual
Lancer
abuse
ng
as
ganitong
an
case.
important contributor to psychopathology. Sinasabi dito na nagbibigay ng isang simpleng paliwanag na minumungkahi ng ama ang pasyente na nakakabahagi sa anal na pang-aabusong sexual. Sinusuri din dito ang parehong period para sa mga pagbabago ng pananaw ni period sa mga neurosis mula sa fantasy at sa child sexual abuse. Mahalaga din ang ambag ng psychopathology. Meron ding sinusuri na libro si Patrick Mahoney tungkol sa period at Ratman. May tatlong layunin sa aklat nito. Una, ang pangunahing layunin upang ipakita kung paano nakakaimpluwensya ang mga isyu ng pagbabago-bago. Pangalawa, upang maipakita ang kakulangan ng pagsali ng Ingles sa mga sinulat ni Freud. At ang pangatlo ay ang pagkagiliw sa mga tama ng libro. Sa kabilang banda, ang isang mabuting bahagi ng libro ay sumasalamin ng ilan sa mga paghihirap na dumaranas ng isang mahusay na pagsulat ng psychoanalytic. Ayun lang po at maraming salamat.
Natapos yung problema ni Ratman. So, ayun lang. Thank you.
Conclusion. Ratman was the nickname given by Sigmund Freud to a patient whose case history was published as Bemerkungen über einen Fall von Erwangsneurose. This came north upon a case of obsessional neurosis, 1909. This was the second of 6 case histories that Freud published, and the first in which he claimed that the patient had been cured by psychoanalysis. So, sinasabi dito na ang Ratman ay ang palayaw na binigay ni Sigmund Freud sa isang pasyente na ang kasaysayan ng kaso ay naipublish bilang Bemerkungen über einen Fall von Zwangsneurosis, mga tala sa isang kaso ng obsessional neurosis. Ito daw ay pangalawa sa 6 na mga kasaysayan ng kaso na naipublish ni Freud. At ang una kung saan sinabi niyang ang pasyente ay gumaling ng psychoanalysis. So, ano nga ba kapag sinabi ang psychoanalysis? Psychoanalysis is a system of psychological theory and therapy which aims to treat mental disorder by investigating the interaction of conscious and unconscious elements in our mind and bringing repressed fears and conflicts into the conscious mind by techniques such as dream interpretation and free association. To protect the anatomy of patients, psychoanalytic case study usually with the healed or disguise the names of the individuals concerned, Anna O, Little Hans, Wolfman, Dora, etc. Recent researchers have decided that Ratman was in fact a clever lawyer named Ernst Lancer. Through many other sources maintain that the man's name was Paul Lawrence. So, sinasabi dito na si Ernest Lancer ay hindi lamang abogado, kundi siya ay magaling na abogado talaga, and dito is aalamin natin kung ano ang psychoanalysis. Psychoanalysis is a set of theories and therapeutic techniques used to study the unconscious mind, which together forms a method of treatment for mental disorders. Para mas maunawaan nyo, ang psychoanalysis ay isang hanay ng mga teorya at therapeutic na diskarte. na ginagamit upang pag-aralan ang walang malay na pag-iisip na magkasamang bumuo ng isang pamamaraan ng paggamot para sa mga sakit sa ating isip. Ang disiplina ay tinatag noong unang bahagi ng 1890s ng Austrian neurologist na si Sigmund Freud na pinanatili ang term na psychoanalysis para sa kanyang sariling paaralan ng pag-iisip. So, ang ginawa ni Freud upang maprotektahan to protect the anatomy of patients, psychoanalytic case study usually withheld or disguised the names of individuals concerned. Anna O., Little Hans, Wolfman, Dora. Recent researchers have decided that the Ratman was in fact a clever lawyer named Ernest Langer, 1878 to 1914. Though many other sources maintain that the man's name was Paul Lawrence. So, sabi nga dyan is, ang ginawa daw ni Freud, we all know that Freud is the father of psychoanalytic. So, let's proceed. So, ang ginawa nga ni Freud upang protektahan ang pagkawala ng lagda ng mga pasyente is pinag-aralan niya yung kaso ng psychoanalytic. Psychoanalytic is sinabi ko na kanina yung meaning. So, ayun nga, yung karaniwang pinipigil o tinatago ang mga pangalan ng mga individual na nag-aalaga na sina, inuulit-ulit ko yung pangalan kasi importante sila. Anna O., Little Hans, Wolfman, and Dora. Kamakailan lamang na napagpasya ang mapagkunan ang napapanatili na ang pangalan ng lalaki ay si Paul Lawrence. Si Paul Lawrence ay magaling na abogado. So, ayun lamang po yung report ko para sa conclusion. Thank you.